Hello again. Does peace stand a chance at all in the Middle East? Palestinians continue to be evicted from their homes illegally, and this may not change anytime soon, as Israel nominated a hard-line right-wing Prime Minister-designate Benjamin Netanyahu. He's against the two-state solution and supports the expansion of the West Bank settlements. Netanyahu is keen to stabilise his coalition government with the support of centrist Tzipi Livni. But if he fails to cut a deal with Livni, he'll have a narrow coalition with ultranationalists. The European Union's raised concerns that this could halt peace talks with the Palestinians. In addition, it could also harm Israel's ties with its major ally, the United States. With George Mitchell as the American special envoy to the Middle East, the Obama administration is expected to pursue the two-state solution and stop Israel from expanding its illegal settlements in the occupied Palestinian territories. With the contradicting ideologies of Israel and the United States, the peace process in the Middle East could come to a screeching halt. Well, we're joined again by our guests in Bethlehem, Suhail Khalilieh, in Jerusalem, Hagit Ofran, and in Tel Aviv, Dr. Dan Shiftan. Welcome back to all of you. Let's start again with Dr. Dan Shiftan. We'll talk more generally about the political situation in Israel and the consequences on the peace process, but I also want to go back to the point that Mr. Khalilieh raised just before the break. He's saying that Israel is playing a rerun, as it were, of what happened in 1967 with the events in the last few weeks in Silwan. What do you say?
The whole thing has nothing whatsoever to do with peace, because we are not speaking about replacing Arabs with Jews. And the Arabs that will be evicted from the place that they occupied illegally are offered by the Israeli government another location inside Jerusalem. So it really, inside Silwan, this is what the lawyer says. Let us separate the two issues. You're trying to connect the issue of the settlements to the issue of the possibility of peace. And my basic argument is that there are two very separate issues. Israel has already agreed to withdraw from the overwhelming majority it occupied in the West Bank. And the
but the thing is that according to the record by reports such as the one that we quoted a little bit earlier from Peace Now, Dr. Shiftan, the exact opposite has happened. The record shows that there has been increased settlement activity.
The record is made by left-wing small elements in Israel funded by Europeans who are ideologically committed to say that Israel is wrong. This has nothing whatsoever to do with reality.
How is it ideological?
Let me give you, if I may I answer the question? The whole issue of the settlements in the West Bank that Israel and the Palestinians are disputing is something between 3% and 7% of the territory. If you take it in the expanded sense, it is 7%. If you take it in the narrow sense, it is 3%. So first of all, let us speak about 97%. Israel was willing to discuss land swaps. So the issue is not the issue of the settlement. The peace process is stuck for a very long time. I don't think this particular government will have to work very hard at sticking it because it's stuck. And it is stuck because the Palestinians are not willing to accept a state. They're speaking about the right of return. They don't accept the fact that on the other side of the border, after you establish a Palestinian state, there will be a Jewish state.
As you speak,
the real issue
Dr.
is not the
Shiftan,
settlement.
I can see Hagit Ofran in Jerusalem herself trying to get a word in edgewise there. I'm going to let you respond to the challenge that your group, Peace Now, is ideologically leftist, and that is what is affecting the report that you published on the record of settlements in 2008. And I think we ought to answer as well this question, because isn't there an argument that Palestinian residents should accept the voluntary relocation deals, the fact being that if they don't, they'll be left with nothing?
That's up to the Palestinians who live there to decide. I cannot decide for them. However, when one do not have any other argument, then he will attack the messenger. However, our data is based on sometimes the official data, and especially in Jerusalem we took only official data. So it's not that our numbers are wrong or manipulated by our visions.
Not the data.
The only problem
it is
with
politically manipulated.
It's not politically manipulated. It's the political facts, which are, if Israel really agreed to what you say, and I believe that the majority of Israelis do accept the two-state solution and would want to withdraw from the West Bank. However, on the ground, what we see is that Israel is continuing with the with expansion of the settlements, and you cannot say that we agreed, and the only argument is on 3 or 7%. I don't mind on what percent the argument is. I just want the two sides to sit and talk about it and finish it, and not create more and more.
All right, well, we need to move on. So I do want to move on to the question. To the question of how the settlements issue is going to affect US-Israel relations. We touched on it a little earlier, and I do want to ask you, Dr. Dan Shifton, do you think that the Obama administration and the nascent right-wing Israeli government are on a course for collision? After all, George Mitchell, as special envoy to the Middle East, has in the past called for a freeze on settlement activity.
Yeah, there'll be a minor problem with the Obama administration. By the way, I welcome it. It has to do with the outposts. And Israel really has to remove the outposts. But when it comes to the bulk of the settlements, I think the Obama administration understands what every sensible person understands. Namely, if you reach a political solution, the settlements don't remain as a problem. In Gaza, Israel decided to withdraw, so it demolished by itself all of the settlements. If Israelis and Palestinians will reach an agreement by which Israel withdraws from the overwhelming majority of the territory in the West Bank, as, by the way, I personally very strongly support, I even propose to do it unilaterally. If Israel agrees with the Palestinians on that, Israel will demolish its own settlements, and the question if another house was built here or there becomes negligible as it is.
Do you consider that a negligible issue, Sohail Khalilieh?
Well, before that, I mean, you talked about so many issues. I mean, I like the chance to speak about it. First, Dr. Dan said that the Palestinians are living there in Silwan, the neighborhood in Silwan, illegal, and they must be evacuated. I mean, that's not even a way to talk. The Palestinians are not living there illegal. They are the original residents of Jerusalem. I mean, the only illegal people there are the Israeli settlers. He's talking about land swap.
On this particular archaeological site are illegal.
Well, there is no archaeological sites. This is just the pretext you're using. You talked about land swap from 3 to 7%. I mean, the segregation wall alone is isolating behind it more than 12%. You're not even calculating Jerusalem within the land that is isolated behind the segregation wall. I mean, you're trying to make a reality on the ground. With the segregation wall, with all the plans that's happening in Jerusalem, you're killing the two-state solution. That's basically what's happening eventually, and I said it earlier.
Yeah, Mr. Khalilieh, we are running out of time, unfortunately.
According to your desire.
So let's talk about the future of the peace process, given the political situation. There is political disarray both in Palestine and in Israel at the moment, and we have a new government in the United States, which is, of course, a major player. What is your view about the future?
Well, with the Israeli government, at least we know where Netanyahu stands on the peace process. I mean, he's very frank about it, and actually this is a relief for the Palestinians. At least we know for once where the Israelis stand.
All right, an article in the British press quotes an anecdote that Benjamin Netanyahu likes to tell about how he and Obama have met and how they discussed how they were both pragmatists. Hagit Ofran, I'm going to let you have the last word in this program. Do you think Netanyahu is as pragmatic as he appears to want to be?
I hope he will be. However, what my wish now is that at least we are going to have a dispute in Israel and an opposition, so that the people of Israel will know exactly what we want to do and what we're going to do, and there will be people who will be like us against it, and inshallah, hopefully, afterwards the peace camp will win again, and we can go finally to the two-state solution by peace with the Palestinians.
All right, that's all the time we have for this program, but we do want to thank in Bethlehem Sohail Khalilieh, Head of Settlements Monitoring Department at the Applied Research Institute. In Jerusalem, Hargit Ofran, Head of Peace Now's Settlement Watch. And in Tel Aviv, Dr. Dan Shiftan, he's Director of the National Security Studies Center at Haifa University. And thank you very much for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. We welcome your comments and suggestions. Please email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. Goodbye for now.